Where is the God of the Bible during COVID pandemic? Now, this is a big question. We are going through unprecedented times, and I need to be very cautious what I say because so much of deaths all around and the numbers are staggering. The second wave, and people are talking about a possible third wave and fourth wave. There's so much we do not know. But the Bible does give us some clue in understanding the pain and suffering and the uncertainty that we all go through. Firstly, God does not intend pain and suffering for human beings. It was the result of the fall of the first parents. God gave them boundaries and rules to follow. But when they rebelled against God, they brought curse and upon themselves. The initial pages of the Bible you read, thorns and thistles started to grow in God's garden. In other words, that was not God's original intention. But yes, you and I live in a fallen world. So we see decay, we see disease, we see death. But all hope is not lost in the midst of disease. We can pray to God and God answers prayer. But sometimes people face death. But the beautiful thing is, in the Bible, death is no longer the enemy since Jesus resurrected from the grave. That's why Paul the Apostle, an early philosopher, asked the question, "Death, where is your sting? Grave, where is your victory?" Because Jesus Christ came back from the dead, and that's the assurance, the promise given to anybody and everybody who would believe in the death and resurrection of Jesus. So there is hope even beyond the grave. The Bible presents God as a God of life, the God of death, and the God of life after death. So where is God when I'm going through a pandemic, when I go through a crisis? Jobs are being lost and people are struggling for food, for shelter, and the fear of various kinds of threats posed by the pandemic. You know what? Interestingly, the Bible presents that God is all the time sovereign. God was sovereign when Jesus was doing the miracles on earth. God was sovereign when Jesus hung on the cross as a helpless victim and died. So God is sovereign over every situation. Even as we battle the pandemic, God is still sovereign. So we ask the question, where is God when this happens? You know what? One biblical angle to that is God might actually turn back and ask that same question to us. Where are you in the midst of the pandemic? That's a big question. Because God has given an important role to all human beings. Human beings, unlike the rest of creation, are made in the image of God, which means we have a role to play. So when I rebel against God, there is a consequence. When I obey God and follow His commandments, there is a blessing. The society is blessed because of my efforts. So today, there is enormous scope for each of us to do our little bit in the alleviation of the pandemic. Let me give an illustration. Vinod Ramachandra, a Sri Lankan, makes this interesting observation. When earthquake struck the country of Nepal, there were more than 4,000 people who died in the aftermath of the tragedy. And he contrasts that with an earthquake of the similar magnitude. If it were to strike Florida or Tokyo in Japan, the loss of life is very minimal, maybe 5 or 6, which is bad enough. But the contrast he makes is to point out how human beings are involved in a lot of tragedies. How is it when an earthquake of the similar magnitude happens in a different part of the world, they have the technology and the planning to deal with it differently, while in one part of the world there's an enormous loss of life. So he uses this illustration to show the human responsibility in the wake of any tragedy or pandemic. That's because God has made us in His own image, and there is so much He would expect us to do ourselves. So when we ask God the question, where are you in the midst of a pandemic, that question might actually boomerang back to us, and God might ask, where are you in the midst of the pandemic? So I think all of us will have to do our own bit. Yes, of course, we pray to God. God is still sovereign. He's got a plan, a mega plan that is bringing to fruition. But each of us will do well to do our little role in being a blessing to the community around us. And the Bible promises one day there'll be no more suffering, no more tears, no more pain. And that would be when God comes back again in the new heaven and the new earth. This is renewed ecology, where there will be no more disasters as tsunamis or pandemics, but we will all be in our glorified bodies and will love and serve God forever. But for that, we need to now confess our sin, receive forgiveness from Him, invite Him into our lives, and He transforms us into His own children. We are born again, and then slowly and steadily we become like God. One day when we are with Him, we will be like Him in every sense of the word. Sin would be defeated, every curse would be put an end to. There won't be any more sorrow. That's the hope. And the prayer is that everyone would find that hope in Jesus.